Most people have no idea this is how wedding rings are actually made. Now in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how we melt down old gold, shape it, solder it, file it and turn it into a finished wedding band. A lot of customers use Sentimental jewellery for this. So if you ever wondered how jewellers remelt old gold into something new, watch this till the end. I'm James at Blackwell Jewellers.
So as before, we always like to heat up the skillet. This allows the pour to be much smoother. It's just a case of just gently heating it up, getting the chill out of it and prepping it for when you're ready to melt up. So you'd put your gold in your crucible and make sure your gold is always clean, ultrasonic. You don't want any dust or debris in there. It will affect your melt. So you want a nice flame, not too much oxygen. You want to blast it and create a load of air bubbles, because that can affect the melt as well. So you just start to gently heat it up, get the heat in the crucible. And we're going to just mix up all your gold pieces so it becomes one nice liquid mass. I'm going to start applying a little bit of flux on there. This keeps it clean. We don't add too much, just enough. And it should start now become a nice liquid consistency. We've already heated up our skillet, so that's out of room temperature, so that's going to help. We're going to just start now moving, getting ready for the pour. One smooth movement and pull across. Done. So now we've got our gold ready to start to mill. I want to just anneal it. I'm just showing you how to anneal. We've just poured it, so it doesn't really need it, but I'm just going to go through the motions to help. So we'll just bring your gold piece up to temperature, just slowly moving across the bit. As you can see now, it's starting to come up to temperature, getting that lovely cherry red colour. Keep the flame moving. Now I just want to wait for that to cool down. Once that's cooled down, I'm just going to put it through our acid, through our soda crystal. Sometimes it's hard to pick up. Okay, now so first of all we're going to go through our squares, because I want to make sure I've got enough length on the metal before I go down any further, and plus going through the squares makes the gold bar nice and even. So I'm conscious of the width that I need. If I'm working to a 6mm, I want to make sure that I'm not going to over mill it out. And if you watch, I'm doing all in one nice movement, nice and steady. So that's all becoming nice and even now. So another anneal. If you notice, we always keep the metal nice and pliable. We don't want to get too hard. Keep it nice and clean. Just a closer shot now. As I go through one, I rotate, go through another. Just going through a few times now just to demonstrate to you. Now we need to measure, making sure that if I'm working to 6mm, I need to make sure that I can't keep milling out till it gets to 2mm, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get the 6mm width I need. So probably about sort of 3.5–4mm square is where you need to be on that if you're doing a 6mm. So just demonstrating again. I don't rush this, I just take my time. If you start pushing down too hard through the holes, you could end up splitting the gold. Always keeping the gold clean. So I'm just cutting some excess now. Don't need all that length, it just becomes a hindrance. It gets that caught on the side, you don't need to do that. And talk about the cutting as well, always cutting on downstroke. When you come to the end, you just push it, stop the blade from splitting. Now we're going to use this flats. Get the height required, just want it to bite down on the piece of gold. As a rule, I would always get the width right first. So I'm going to go in on a 45-degree angle, just so that I get to make sure that I can get the, if I'm working to 6mm, I want to make sure that I can just get to 6mm. If I take it, go for length first of all, and over mill it straight, and then there's no way I'm going to have the thickness to give me what I need. So as you can see, I'm just going on a slight angle because I'd rather it go a little bit wider. I've got the length I need, so I just want to get the width. This allows me to do that. And so just a little bit of time, checking all the time, checking with your dezim gauge. Still keeping that sort of putting in a 45-degree angle.
Sorry to interrupt the video, but if you'd love to watch how we handmade this 5-carat pink natural diamond, check out our video in our page. I'm James at Blackwell Jewellers.
Just a bit closer in there for you so you can see. I wouldn't normally go through as many times this, it's just for the purpose of the video. As you can see now, we're starting to get to the width, just need a little bit more. Now that I've got the width, I just went through the straight on just to straighten things up. Give it a little pickle, keep it nice and clean. Now I want to get the sides down because it's curled up a little bit. I want to get it nice and straight. So when I'm tapping with the hammer, I'm making sure that it's nice and flat. I don't want to start bruising it, and firmly as well. I'm not just tapping it. I'm giving it a little bit of power, but straight. If you hit it hard and you're going to go down on an angle, you're just going to bruise the metal, which is no good. So you can see that I'm just working, and when I need to get to the centre, I then flip it over. So when that's nice and straight, give it a final little anneal. Just get it ready now so we can start turning it up. Keep it nice and clean. Now, so I use my half rounds, obviously keeping the semicircle to the away from me, so on the inside, and you can see that I start with the edges, get them round because they're the hardest part. So if you just start from turning from the centre, you're going to struggle getting the edges round. So always start and getting your curves started. And as you get better, you'll be able to just do this by eye. Yeah, so just slowly moving it and keeping an eye on it as well, making sure that it's all the shape I need. Keeping to the finger size, so if I was working to a size Y, then I'd make sure my finger shape is right. You want to get to the point where you can turn it up on the finger size. You don't want to be trying to think, oh yeah, I'll get it as round as I can, and then just rely on your hammer and your mallet. You don't want to do that. You want to get good with your pliers. It's really important. See, now what I'm doing is I know that I've got got excess gold there, so I'm really going to cut that away soon because it's just going to get in the way. But I also want to make sure that I don't cut too much. I want to make sure that I've got more than enough. And so I've made a mark. And I start to cut. So whenever you're cutting, keep your fingers and thumbs out of the way. You don't want to slice through that. It will happen. We've all done it. It's not a nice feeling. But always cut on a downward stroke. Keep an eye on what you're doing, and make sure you're cutting on the other side of the line. So just removing a little bit of excess from the other side. Using your thumb and finger as your vice clamps. You notice that everything's in place. The ring's not moving too much. And as I came to the end, I just slowed it down a little bit. Just double checking on your finger size. So now we just want to give it a little anneal. After turning it up, it's hardened up. So give it a nice cherry red anneal. Pickle it once it's cooled down slightly. In your soda crystals, neutralise that acid. Now I'm just going to close that gap. Still using my pliers, not using any vices or anything like that. Don't need to. You know, I want you to get good using your tools. I want to make sure the inside is nice and square and flat. So I use my safety back, as we mentioned before in other modules. This is to protect the other side that you're filing, which is really important. We are spending a little bit more time than we normally would just to show what we're doing. Now we're going to do the final close. We show a really good technique to help you get your joins absolutely closed tight. So I'm just using my eyeglass as well. I've always done that. I just find that, you know, you can get so much more detail when you're using your eyeglass. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut through. So this way the saw blade, when you cut through, will release any little tiny bits that are touching. So you might have a slightly bit in the center that's stopping the join from closing. Well, this will actually cut through that, and it will just shut it tight. And I'll show you what I mean when it happens. So I'm just going through basically both sides, and it will just clear in the way really. And now we've gone through, and now just get rid of any burrs. Getting ready to cut my solder, so we're going to use hard solder, 9 carat hard solder, because we're using 9 carat yellow gold. Now you can see how tight that join is. No daylight whatsoever. You know, I spent time, I got it square, I cut through my blade. So now I'm just putting a little bit of flux, not too much, just to keep that whole surface area nice and clean. Now I'm going to just gently heat the ring up. This will settle the flux. to let the solder settle down with a quite gentle flame. I'm just going to increase the oxygen a little bit more, slowly control it. As you can see, it just settled down. See how clean that is where I've soldered. Now it's time to clean the rest up. So that's what it should look like. This is before I've done any, I've not knocked it round. I've just done that by hand and solder. So next stage, we need to clean the inside up. It's going to get rid of any excess solder. Making sure when you file that you're filing flat, even though it's a curve inside. I'm talking about making sure that you're flat on your filing, that you're not filing towards downhill or uphill, because you're just going to create dips in the ring. So you can see there, it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to put that on my triplet. Still see a little bit of daylight through there, so I need to knock that round. So I'm going to use a hammer first of all, just because I can, because with a you're going to get, it's a quicker finish, but you need to make sure you're not going to dent it. So you want to hit firm but flat, really important. If you use a hammer too much, you'll increase the size of the band. That's not what you want to do. Okay, so I'm just going to heat it up now, another anneal. Start off with a gassier flame, and then just bring the ring up to temperature, taking the spring out of it after hitting it with a hammer. Back to the cleaning. Okay, now, so I've got my triplet and my wooden mallet. I'm going to just get it tapped round, knocked round, get it on the sides. See that I've got that triplet firmly into my stomach. It's not moving about too much. I'm complete control, and I'm rotating as I'm hitting. So just checking the size. Looks like I'm just slightly under, which is great, so that means it allows me a little bit from the inside. Okay, now we're going to do the sides. So first of all, we need to make sure that the whole surface is completely flat. So I'm just going to find my way by just making sure that my file is kept flat, my thumb and fingers are holding it tight like a clamp, and I'm just seeing which areas are slightly higher than others. And you'll notice when you do this, the high points, your file, if you're filing correctly, will pick them up. See, look, the ring's not moving at all there when I was doing that. Now I know that the ring's flat. I'm just rotating it now, and I'm filing across the whole thing. It's another technique. You can either keep the ring still and just do that sort of motion. We can rotate it. But one really important thing to look out for and to make sure you're doing is keeping that ring in the same position. So whatever angle you are holding that ring in, you must follow the angle with your file. There's no good having a ring one angle and you're filing another angle, because you'll just the ring won't be flat. You end up filing unnecessary parts of the ring away, and then you're forever chasing it. So we're going to use our rough emery board now. It's the same principle. You know, you've still got to think about making sure the ring is held correctly with your finger so it's nice and firm. Make sure both angles of your ring and the emery board are in the same position, so it means you'll be filing an emery in flat. I'm going over this more than I normally would, just so you can see in the demonstration. Always checking as well. See, I noticed there that I kept the ring in one position and I just emeryed over all of it. Same with that. I'm not rotating the ring on that. There's so many different techniques you can use, but the basics are always the same. You must keep everything flat. You know, look at my angle of my ball and the angle of the ring, they're both the same. Now we're going to take the inside edge away. You know, when you're filing and emerying, you will create like a burr on the inside. So with a not a coarse file, you don't use a coarse file, you just want to use a fine file. A coarse file will just end up getting snagged and taking gouges out of the ring, which you don't want to do. I just want to work round the whole ring. Now I'm just going to clean the inside edge and also the inside of the ring using my pendant drill, and that's emery paper on the end of that. You don't need to spend ages, you just want to get all the file marks out, any other marks that you've made, they've all got to come out, and so that it just looks nice and just nice and ready for your polishing. You know, you need to spend more time in preparation than you do on polishing. See that now? I've got the inside edge is nice and soft, there's no sharp edges on there, there's no file marks on the inside. You know, I'm ready now to file the outside. So when we do the file of the outside, we are creating a D shape, which is like a half round on the ring. So we need to work more on the outside of the ring, and that's what I'm doing now. So I'm following the contour of the ring when I file. And if you see, when I'm actually doing it, it's all even. I'm creating, if you look carefully, you can see that there's a line appearing. So that if I keep that up, the curve's going to be even. And also just look at the way I'm filing. See? I'm following the shape of the ring. You know, I'm not filing any flats on it. You know, take as much time as you need to get that technique down. I'm checking the sides as well, making sure that, you know, I'm not taking too much of that edge away. You know, once you file that and it's gone, that's it. You end up filing the rest of it to blend in, and you can't do that. It just look awful. So just take your time. We do this all the way. So how I start is, I normally start by where the join is, because I know that if I start there and I work my way round, as soon as I come back to that join, I know that's even. So if you look, that's sort of one side done. So now I'm going to work the other side, starting from the join. So we've got to get both sides even. You know, it's a balance. You can't have one side higher than the other, because it won't look like a nice even D. So I'm making sure that everything's moving, there's nice flow. You know, I'm not just holding it still and filing a flat across it, I'm curving it. I'm just going to work round until I reach that join again. Now I'm going to work the middle now because I've filed the edges, so it's just creating a nice curve now. I'm just joining the two together. And it's the same technique as you've done before. You know, you're following the contour of the ring, everything's moving, there's a nice flow there. I've been really conscious about keeping it curved as I'm filing. You know, I don't want to keep saying the same thing, but it's really important that you work on that technique, because you know, you could spend all that time making a ring, melting the gold down, but if you cannot file, then you won't get this lovely finish. So I've just now checking, make sure I've got a nice D shape on it, make sure everything's even, checking my sides, everything seems okay. So what I want to do now is just use a finer file to make my life easier when I start using the emery board. Like most things, it's just preparation, but I'm still using the same technique, using that technique where you're following the contour of the ring, make sure there's no flat spots. I like to use a needle file just to go over the edges and make them so they're nice and even. It's just spending that little extra time making something that you're making, just giving it that edge. I'm using an eyeglass as well. For me, I prefer doing that, as simple as that. I get a better finish when I use an eyeglass. It's just a case of spending a bit of time and just getting your sides nice and even. So now we've got our rough emery. So I'm using the same technique, always following the contour of the ring, keeping the ring moving. So always checking. And when you're using your emery board, you're just covering the whole surface. You're not just doing the edges like when we first started filing to get that nice D shape. You're just getting that nice even finish. getting rid of any file marks. Remember, the more job you do here, the easier you will find it when you polish. Just sort of slow it down there so you can see. And you can see that lines of the emery, it all follows. It looks nice and it's even and consistent. So we're going to do the same again using your medium grade emery paper. See, I'll turn that to make sure it's nice and even on both sides, but the same again, you're just covering the whole surface of the ring. I thought I'd just show you a little technique we've used before. I don't use it that often, but it does get a nice finish. Just having a loose bit of emery paper and you just follow the shape of whatever you're emerying. When you're using this technique, it is good to use on wedding rings because it does, when you hold it, and it does follow the shape of the ring really nicely. And there you have it, a D-shaped wedding band.